The Air National Guard is a reserve component of the United States Air Force and serves alongside active duty Air Force members in times of a national crisis. In addition, the Air Guard serves the state and local community in a wide range of capacities. The reason people join the Air Guard is as diverse as our members and includes such reasons as a deep desire to serve their country, money for college, travel, new job skills, and the pride that goes along with belonging to the greatest military organization in the world. I joined because I felt a calling to serve my country, but I didn't want to be far away from my family, so the Indiana Air National Guard was a perfect fit for me. With over 95 different career opportunities to choose from and 100% paid college tuition to any state-funded college, why not give us a call? Call 1-800-841-3103 or visit online at goang.com to find out more. Again, that's 1-800-841-3103. The Air National Guard, guarding America, defending freedom.
It's double trouble, double the fun at African Safari Wildlife Park in Port Clinton, Ohio. See the largest antelope on Earth, the giant eland, and the ugliest creature on Earth, the African warthog. There's so much to see and do, including the Midwest's only drive-through safari. Feed the animals, see live educational shows, feel the excitement. Have your picture taken with a python or cockatoo. Feel the adventure. Shop the Symbol Lodge gift shop with items available from around the globe. Visit the snack bar or picnic facilities. Enjoy a pony or camel ride. Or cheer your favorite porker on to victory in the famous Pork Chop Down. Bring your family to see the rare and exotic animals at African Safari Wildlife Park in Port Clinton, Ohio. Just take Route 2 to the Route 53 North exit and follow the sign. Only 17 miles west of Cedar Point via Route 6. Open every day, rain or shine.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be confusing. Like Swedish techno confusing.
Bark, bark, meow, meow. Dance with me, purple cow. Bark, bark, meow, meow. Ooh, you lovely cow.
Geico makes it easy. With 24/7 access, all you have to do is go to Geico.com and you could save money on car insurance. It just makes sense. Unlike, you know.
Dance with me, purple cow. I like your move.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be hard. Like early 90s heavy metal hard.
I'm yelling and screaming and I'm loud. Roar.
Geico makes it easy. You can review and update your policy or report a claim on Geico.com or the Geico mobile app. Because shouldn't we all have a little less stress in our lives?
I'm not even upset about anything.
All right, and welcome back to the Balance. My name's Tom Marquis, Presidente. Half hour in the books. March Madness talk. March Madness underway. Myself, Matthew Embry, WSBT up in South Bend. We're going to continue the March Madness talk here after our racing segment towards the bottom of the hour of Mo from the BS Sports Show. We're going to be breaking down all the action of what's going on in March Madness and the brackets and the bracket busting and all that. But right now, we're going to start our Indy Car talk. Tyson Lautschlager calling us from up in Canada from onpitroad.com. And continuing on with Matthew Embry, balance contributor for Indy Car as well, our official Indy Car contributor. So let's start right in. Well, Tyson, first of all, how are you doing on this? Well, if you're in the United States, March Madness weekend.
I'm doing well. For me, not March Madness weekend. It's just not my thing, but ready to talk some IndyCar. Let's talk some IndyCar, guys. They're in Austin, if you will, and the Formula One track, Circuit of the Americas, I believe I got that right. Matthew, talk with us a little. I know you are very familiar and follow and write about and report and talk about Formula One more than either the two of us put together. So talk with us a little bit about this track and how it's developed for IndyCar.
Well, it's very technical. There's no question about it. It's more of the, a mix of, slow, medium, fast turns, fast chicades, a lot of loops around where you could really carry a lot of speed and a lot of places where you could overtake. So certainly I don't think where a car's aerodynamic advantage is going to come into play. I think it comes down to driving talent, and that's why you see guys like Scott Dixon and Will Power near the top of the timing charts after yesterday. Be interested to see how that backs up, certainly for guys that need a good qualifying run, that didn't take advantage of qualifying in St. Pete and really hurt themselves, had a lot of work to do. And then you got another handful of guys like Felix Rosenquist. Can he continue momentum? I mean, he was right up there in practice, right behind Power. And a few of the other ones like Pagenaud and, Ed Jones. Ed Jones maybe not 100% because of the fractured hand he suffered at St. Pete, but certainly for a guy like Simon Pagenaud, who has had a very lackluster last season and a half with Penske, he's certainly a guy that I think that could really use a good result as we draw closer to the 103rd Indianapolis 500.
Boy, that sounds good. Let me tell you what. Tyson, let's talk a little bit about a new rule that ahead of this weekend's Indy Car Classic, the series' first race at the Circuit of America. Series officials have decided to allow drivers to use the runoff area exiting Turn 19 in order to reduce track limit controversies. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think any time that we can kind of get away from a track limit controversy is a good thing because we see this come into play every now and then, and sometimes the call gets made right away and sometimes it doesn't, and there can be a lot of disappointment from fans and teams alike. So whenever we can kind of get away from that, it's a good thing. We've seen issues like this in the past where it's kind of a gray area, so hopefully this can improve the weekend, and we don't have to worry about some calls that are kind of, like I said, in a gray area.
In the gray area, there's always that gray area that nobody seems to be able to get an answer for. Let's talk, Matthew. That if you're a crew chief with IndyCar this week at the Circuit of Americas, one of the things you got to be concerned about is tire management. Well, that track is going to be very, very hard on IndyCar tires. How does the crew chiefs go about getting ready for this race, and how do they manage their tires at this particular track? Matthew. Did we lose Matthew? Somehow he got popped on mute. Sorry about that.
I'm right here.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I
had you on mute by
cell
accident.
phone burned out. I had to get out of the landline. So could you repeat the question?
Oh, okay. We'll start the question over. I said this track, Circuit of Americas, is going to be very hard on tires. If you're a crew chief this weekend of IndyCar, how do you go about managing your tires at this track?
Well, I think it could be the same way we saw it at St. Pete, Ty, where guys are starting the race on reds and taking the reds off right away, pitting early. If this is a hard track on tires, certainly I don't think the reds are going to last more than maybe 3 or 4 laps, especially with the length of this circuit layout. So I think we're going to see a lot of short pitting early, guys starting on reds and then getting off the reds and going back to blacks. Now, granted, going on the reds, I think, was part of the thing that helped Joseph Newgarden win the race a couple weeks ago at St. Pete, but it's a very risky move, and if you get caught in traffic or you have just a place where the setup isn't well, you certainly get yourself in trouble with those. So I think you'll see them be helpful in qualifying, but once we get to a race day, I think you're going to see a lot of guys start on them, but they're going to be trying to get those reds off and get back to the blacks just to meet the requirement of running the reds during the race for at least a stint. But beyond that, the red tires, I think, once again, are not going to be as key a factor as to the outcome of the race, even though you may see someone roll the dice, but I don't know if they'll be as successful as Newgarden was at St. Pete this past week or a couple weeks ago.
Tyson, what are your thoughts on the tires? I mean, we always talk about the tires. That's always an issue. But at this track particularly, the worry is that this track will eat up tires very, very quickly. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I agree kind of with what Matt said there, because we see, obviously, this is our first time racing at COTA, and there is a lot of unknown as far as tires go. But this is a track that I think, because of the size of it and the amount of chance for overtaking and just the way the track can wear out tires, we're going to see that play a part quite a bit in this race. I think the red tires, the advantage that they have is they are really fast, and they're a lot faster than the blacks for at least those first few laps. But once they start wearing out, you're going to want to get off them right away. So I think we see kind of the same thing that Matt was saying. We're going to see drivers run the reds on the opening stint of the race, probably run about a maximum of 5 or 6 laps just so they can get that stint in. By the rules, you have to run both sets of tires for at least 2 or 3 laps. So they're going to get off those reds pretty quick and get on the blacks, and then everybody's going to be on equal playing ground. I don't, as Matt said, I don't think we're going to see anyone try to take that strategy that Joseph Newgarden somehow employed and won with at St. Pete, because that was a strategy that no one else was really looking at, and I don't think anyone thought it was going to work, and it did end up working. But I don't see that working at Circuit of the Americas. It's just too different of a track, especially with the fact that these teams haven't raced here before.
And speaking of that, you mentioned the strategy backfiring. You wonder where is people's minds toward Marco Andretti, because he was competitive, but unfortunately, Ty, he was not necessarily competitive in a way I think that made many people very happy with him, especially those challenging for the win a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. He was kind of getting in the way of everybody. It didn't matter who you were. It seemed like he was getting in the way, whether he was trying to stay on the lead lap or trying to pass the leaders who were, running second, third, or fourth. So he was definitely in the way, and I don't think we'll see that be a problem, especially with COTA being quite a bit of a wider track. I don't think we'll see that be as much of a problem this weekend.
We're talking with Tyson Lutziger of OnPitRoad.com, calls us up from the Toronto, Canada area. Matthew Embry, WSBT in South Bend, our official Indy Car contributor and just all-around balanced contributor. Tyson, if there's one driver that comes to mind when you say that can and will succeed at this track, and he's already proven it, and that's Will Power. This has got Will Power written all over it.
Yeah, this is really a track that kind of suits Will Power's aggressiveness and the fact that this is a track where speed is going to be a big factor. You can't really hide on a track like this that's so big and so open. We have a lot of long flowing straightaways, and I think that's really going to be a benefactor for Will Power. Guys like him and Scott Dixon, Alexander Rossi, who I feel like is going to have a really strong weekend, having a little bit of past experience here in Formula One. These are the guys that you got to watch out for this weekend.
Matthew, let's just kind of digress just a little bit. We got some news this week that Dan Weldon was elected to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame. First of all, what an honor. Second of all, couldn't have happened to a better person. Remember Dan Weldon, obviously, we lost him way too early at a tragic event in Las Vegas. But what are your thoughts, Matthew? Dan Weldon elected to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame.
Guy that won 2 Indy 500s, and I think Eddie Gutton was still around. He may have won a third or a fourth, just like Dario did. But very solid driver, certainly, and was always a contender, and was a thinking man's driver. Was able to get a little extra car, kind of like than most could, kind of like what Will Power does today. And I think a well-earned honor. I'm just surprised that it took, 8 years beyond his passing for them to induct him into the Hall of Fame.
Matthew, Alonso Indy Car is going to return for the Texas Motor Speedway. Alonso coming to Indy Car, we might see some signs. I don't know if and Tyson, feel free to chime in on this also, but maybe we're starting to see some reading into the tea leaves. He doesn't have to run full-time. He certainly doesn't need it monetarily wise, but are we going to see a full-time ride for Fernando Alonso, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't want to get in trouble with this, but I'm still not convinced it's going to happen until I see it. There's just a lot of things that are going to need to be done here as far as making sure the money's right, the situation's right, because remember, even during the Formula One season, Alonso is used to spending majority of his time in Spain, getting used to the U.S. Culture, on a full-time basis. That could be a tough learning curve sometimes for some of these guys. So I think the situation just has to be right, whether if it's with a Penske or someone. The question is, can he establish, some semblance of, civility with Honda or the new manufacturer that supposedly joins in 2021? Right now, the situation is, unless he could mend the fences with Honda, the options are Chevrolet, but beyond Penske and maybe Ed Carpenter Racing. There really isn't a Chevrolet team out there that I think is worthy of his services at this point.